All right, what's going on? It's Bobby Skinner talking Giants, doing your Week 3 offensive line report. And we're going to look at basically all pass blocking today. We're going to do a segment on Neal. Obviously, he struggled giving up 3 sacks. We're going to do a segment on Andrew Thomas, and then just showing how the pressure happened from the interior as a whole. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel, that good stuff. But coming off of a loss, I just want to focus on the pass blocking because that was the topic coming away from Monday night's game versus the Cowboys. So let's get into it. We're going to start with Neal, the 7th overall pick out of Alabama. And people say, well, he played all right the first 2 games, and this game he struggled and sucked. Which is kind of true, but he's struggling with it's the exact same things that happened in week 1 and week 2. The exact same things. But the difference is the Cowboys were able to take advantage of it better. But it's about the process, and these are the things that he needs to fix to become a good tackle. So we'll get into it. This first play, it's just, what is he struggling with? He's struggling with these more aggressive pass sets. So what is the difference between what he did a lot at Alabama and now with the New York Giants and Bobby Johnson's O-line coach? So watch his feet. We're setting out instead of at Bama, not all the time, but he would set more back and give more space and give you gives you more time. But this is trying to be more aggressive in their pass set. So what's happening? So the first 2 steps are good. Like, that's what you want. 1, 2, we got our hips square at the line of scrimmage. That's what we want. But because he's struggling with the speed of the NFL and having to deal with, like, hey, guys are fast, strong, and they have the ability to work inside, it's just a lot for a young tackle. And so what's happening is he's getting to this second step, and then the third step should be the exact same as those first 2 steps. You step right here, you punch, and then you keep your feet moving. But because he's worried about that speed, you see how, watch, instead of this step being right here, watch how it swings back. And his hips open. His hips open because he's worried about that speed. So that in turn gets your stance or your feet close together, and that's just puts you in a bad position instead of having them wide and being able to have good balance and weight distribution to be able to move whether it's left or right. So now he's leaning a little bit in the punch, and his feet are close together, and it's hard for you to control the block. So he's having a hard time moving his feet through the block. So 1, 2, open the hips. Instead of being 1, 2, 3, punch and just keep the feet moving, once your feet get skinny together, you're not in a blocking and an offensive line position at that point. Washes Micah Parsons around on that play. Next play, this is the first sack of the game. So what happens here? He's got good proportion on DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence isn't Micah Parsons. 1, 2. And he just kind of gets lost in the hands of DeMarcus Lawrence. And instead of getting to his third step, 1, 2. And maybe you want to shorten that second step up a little bit instead of having it so wide. Maybe instead of landing right here, have it land right here. And then you can step into the third step. And then he's leaning. He's getting caught in the hands. So now we're leaning. And what happens when we lean? We can't control our feet. We can't control our feet the way we want. So our feet stop. And instead of these feet shuffling around here and walling this off, well, now your feet stop because your body's all out of whack. So we're going 1, 2, lean. Instead of 1, 2, 3, punch, keeping your base wide. Well, now you're leaning, and it's hard to move your feet well when you're in this position. And you give up a sack early in the game to DeMarcus Lawrence. This next play ends up washing Micah Parsons around. Not the worst rep in the world. But you just got to get to that third step better. Again, same stuff. 1, 2. We're good. We're good. You've got good proportion right here. You've got good proportion with the edge. Take that third step out. And instead, because he's worried about the speed, watch the left foot. Now your feet are close together, and you're punching with your feet close together, and it's hard to move your feet like that. And Parsons is able to bend that edge and rip through. Next play, sack. It's just not moving the feet through the block. 1-2. 1-2, overextending himself. Again, instead of the 1-2, getting that third step out there, just like the first two steps. Well, the third step now is swinging your hips open and bringing it back. And when he's going around the corner, now your feet are close together. You're leaning. And again, it's the same stuff. I'm repeating myself. And you give up a sack. Next sack. Bellinger screws up the timing on this a little bit. Because Bellinger is supposed to help, and he just doesn't get a piece of Lawrence at all. But still, Neal can do a better job on this. 1-2. Like, the feet are better on this one. Not perfect, but better. 1, 2, 3. That's not horrible. That's good. That's better feet than what we said. But also, he's leaning. Lawrence chops that hands. And then the feet get out of whack. And he's not moving through this block. And you allow a sack. And then this play, screws up a stunt pickup. Actually doesn't screw up the stunt pickup, but he just... Watch. 1-2. Micah Parsons has that inside move. Now, Breida's a little bit in the way. But that left foot, see how it's dropping back? It's dropping back instead of, when that inside move comes, to push off this right foot and just power this left foot down. Either at, a 45 degree angle forward or just horizontal. So now you're stuck with this, and Glowinski does a fairly good job on like IDing the stunt and is able to pick up Parsons. But you're not able to get onto it, and you fall down and you have issues. It's the same stuff. I don't want to repeat myself every week with this Evan Neal stuff. Maybe I'll have a guest on to kind of talk you guys through it. But that's what's happening, and that's happened the first 2 weeks. If you guys have watched, the offensive line reports, it's the same thing. Just the Dallas Cowboys were better at taking advantage of it. So, but let's look at Andrew Thomas next. All right, let's have some fun and talk about Andrew Thomas. If there's one thing that's fun consistently on the offensive line report, that's Andrew Thomas. He had a really good game. Not perfect, but did have a really good game. We're going to go through the 6 reps he got versus Micah Parsons that weren't like heavily influenced by tight end or running back help. A couple bad ones, 4 good ones. He's finally starting to get the respect around the league that he deserves. He's finally getting it. So let's get this Andrew Thomas hype train. Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling. I'm not going to get bored of Andrew Thomas being really good. So let's start it off. We'll go through the Parsons ones last. But first, finish a dude. Here we go. So again, you guys seen the feet stuff, right? 1, 2. Good hand placement. Good leverage, not leaning. Keeps the feet wide. Keeps them moving. Extend the arms. I mean, that's what you want. And then the pass rusher sees Daniel Jones coming up in the pocket, so he wants to redirect. He wants to redirect and get himself a cheap sack. But when they redirect, you bury their ass. You take their weight and bury them into the freaking ground. Redirect, take them, put them on the ground. Now here versus Sam Williams, this is one of a few not so great reps. So you see that little hop step, and he finishes well. So this is under center play, like under center play action. So he's jump setting. So he's not setting vertical. He's not setting at a 45-degree angle. He's setting very aggressively towards him. So gets out there quick, perfect. Now the hands are a little wide. That's something that Thomas, I think, like if there's one thing that can take his pass pro to even another level, it'd be shooting his hands instead of sometimes they clamp instead of punch. And because of that, it allows Sam Williams to get leverage and get his hands on him and keep those feet driving. Now Thomas, you'll notice these hops. You think that's kind of weird, right? That looks a little weird. That's what you're taught to re-anchor. Is that when they've kind of got you in this spot right here, to literally put 2 feet in the air and hop, hop, hop. Now usually on the second step you're able to re-anchor. For him, it's on the third one, and that puts pressure on Daniel Jones. But it's good technique, but got to try and break these hands off of you. It's a hard position to be in because you take those hands off while you're in the middle of this. He can redirect. But again, that all starts with that punch where that could have been a great rep instead of a not so great one. Here again versus Sam Williams. Just lockdown. Lockdown. Quick feet. Good hand placement. He wants to go around the corner. See the feet wide. Good hands inside. Good posture. Good stuff. Ben Bredesen comes over to help at the end. Just locking dudes down. Quick feet. 1, 2, 3. Hands are inside. You see those hands inside. Anchor. And you got good arm bend, you got good leverage. Turn your pass pro into some run blocking. How about that? This is a screenplay. Usually I never put any type of screenplays unless we're talking about the actual blocking downfield. But this was too good to not put in. He wants to go inside. Finish his ass into the ground. Awesome stuff. Now we've got 6 plays versus Micah Parsons. So Parsons is obviously lined up over here. Jones climbs in this pocket, so this isn't like a rep where Micah Parsons finishes the way he probably wants to. But again, 1, 2, 3. Stay patient. Don't overset. Keep the feet moving. You can't see his right hand on this, but when they go to dip that edge, you want your left hand right here where it is. Put your right hand on the small of the back and wash him up the arc. Jones scrambles, makes a play out of it. Good stuff. This play, he gets some tight end help. I also will say, tight ends can hurt you with their chips. Because when you chip and you hit him like from the side, ear hole him, it can lead to some big hits, but a lot of times it messes up the tackle. What you want to hit him forward. Because when you hit, like I saw it on the play that Mark Lewinsky got ran over. You'll notice later, I don't put that in. That's on the tight end. The tight end just ear holes his guard. But anyways, good hand placement. Can't really see it with all the commotion, but watch that right hand. Watch that right hand. See how where it's a little high on him? Watch him replace. Bam! On the inside hip. Good stuff. Parson gets him inside on this play. You get help from Ben Bredesen. Now, some people, some offensive line hardos will say, well, it's a slide, so he's just playing aggressive on this, and if he gets attacked inside, that's on the left guard. I get that sometimes that's the rules, but you're setting, whenever you're in fly protection, you're setting towards a player. You're setting towards a player. So if that player gives you a straight rush, and there's no threat outside, like if he goes inside, you want to be able to stop him. And again, Thomas moves inside with him. But you'll see, we talked about with Evan Neal. Watch the right foot. Watch the right foot swing back. That gives a path to the quarterback. Now, Ben Bredesen's there to help, but that does give a path to the quarterback. Now, ideally, you want, when they do this inside move, you want the right foot to move right here. But when you're facing someone whose ability to work inside is the best in the league, and Micah Parsons, that's not reality. So, you don't want this. But instead of you trying to work that, that power step right here, drop that foot down now instead of it swinging all the way back, and just keep your hips square. So that's just something there with when you're facing a guy like Micah Parsons. Here was the worst one by far, where Matt Breida got ran over. Parsons just gets him inside. Again, you see the right foot drop. Watch the right foot drop. And also, besides Andrew Thomas getting, because Andrew Thomas wasn't going to win this block if Matt Breida's not there. So besides getting Matt Breida ran over, they're also sending this linebacker on the blitz, and that's who Matt Breida's scanning, by the way, is this. Matt Breida is supposed to pick 42 up, so you leave an unblocked. So that's a bad play by Andrew Thomas. And then the last two versus Micah Parsons. Good stuff. Remember where Thomas's inside foot is, and what yard line we're at. Again, left hand high on the plate. Put the right hand on the small of the back. Wash them around. Keep your feet moving. We're here at 10 yards. That's where you want to be. It's a good rep. Don't let the fact that Jones scrambles and Parsons gets to chase him, make you think that this is a bad rep. This is a good rep. Keep the feet wide. I mean, the foot speed is just unreal. Where even when it's not always the most perfect footwork, it's just his foot speed is insane. He's just a crazy athlete. And then the last, but certainly not the least, putting Micah Parsons on his ass. You want to work a spin move? Have fun, buddy. You see the right foot doesn't drop all the way back. He works that spin move. Hand strength. Bam, put his ass on the ground. Don't spin versus Andrew Thomas. That's stupid. That's a stupid thing to do, Micah Parsons. So, he's starting to get the respect he deserves. And I think these last two games haven't been if you compare it to last year, they're not some of his better performances. Still really good, obviously, but they're not the best performances we've seen from Andrew Thomas. But he's just a really good tackle. And he's a great tackle at this point, especially in pass pro. And he's gotten a lot better in run blocking. I know we didn't do any run blocking on this O-line report, and I didn't want to spend 12 minutes on him, but I did because it's Andrew Thomas, and we're trying to get him all pro, people. So, but let's get back to the negative with the interior offensive line. All right, let's finish off part 3, just going through 7 plays where the interior offensive line was responsible for pressure. Ben Bredesen, John Feliciano, and honestly, the main culprit 2 weeks in a row has been Mark Lewinsky. The pressure that Daniel Jones is facing is mostly coming from the right side of the line. Obviously, Evan Neal, like we talked about in the beginning, but Mark Lewinsky has been a big proponent of of pressure for Daniel Jones. So let's get into it. First play. So we're going to focus on Feliciano and Mark Lewinsky. This is a play we went over with Evan Neal where he gets beat around the corner. And Glowinski, I know this is a tough matchup going against DeMarcus Lawrence, but you know that you have Feliciano as inside help. You know, the backer is responsible for Saquon. You know you have that inside help. You kind of got to play, you got to play through him. Get flat. Keep your hips square and get flat on this. Because you're not going to win versus DeMarcus Lawrence giving him that type of half-man relationship. Like, you got to have your helmet in front of his helmet. And that just gives him, and Glowinski already has kind of a soft shoulder that we've seen throughout the first couple weeks of the season. And again, you've got Feliciano's help inside on this. So just, knowing where your help is from, like, Feliciano is sliding with you. Play through this. Move your feet over. Because you're not going to win this way. This next play is something we saw a few times last week with Ioannidis from the Panthers. This meat hook move. Watch the D lineman versus Mark Lewinsky. See that? His hand wrap around. Your head up with him. Obviously, you're taking that first step to the left. That's nothing wrong with that. That's your job. He goes the opposite way. Move these feet with him, though. Have good foot speed, because when you do this, now your hips are open. That shouldn't happen. You should have your hips like Feliciano and Bredesen do here, and that allows him to attack your back and get you off balance. Get this left foot 20 feet in the air and get a path to the quarterback. Next play, Mark Lewinsky again. Just kind of getting bullied on this play. Like a good set. His punch has never been great. His punch comes from low instead of shooting out. But he's got good, hand placement. And he kind of just gets bullied. Has a soft shoulder. Is able to open up the gate for the D lineman. And this isn't great D line play. He just runs into him. Doesn't use his hands or anything. Like, this is bad. This is bad D line play by 72. Like, really, all he's trying to do is set up the stunt for this player. That's all he's trying to do. Instead, he's the one who ends up getting the pressure on the play. Next play, Bredesen. Again, like that play I was talking about, this is the hard matchup versus DeMarcus Lawrence for Ben Bredesen. He sets to him. That's, you're playing the full man relationship. That's good. Just ducks his head with his punch. Part of that happens with DeMarcus Lawrence chopping the hands. When he chops those hands, pulls Bredesen's upper body forward. His feet aren't able to recover, even though it's not the worst footwork in the world. And that's just a tough matchup. On the other side, you got Mark Lewinsky. Again, allowing 98 to work that chop move. Move your feet. Glowinski's athletic. Move your feet. Get in front of this. Don't be afraid of inside counters. And you've got help from Feliciano as well. Move your feet. Get over. I know he's got the athleticism to do it. Gets killed by that chop. A lot of pressure. Next play, this is bad stunt pickup. So, Feliciano's helping Glowinski. You gotta ID that. He's got eyes on it. You've got eyes on this. You should see this coming from. This should be a fairly easy stunt pickup. Again, I know Glowinski doesn't do the greatest job on this. But come on, you got to have eyes on that, Feliciano. You're a vet, and I know he's better than that. You've got to have eyes on that. That's brutal. And Myrick doesn't pick this up. This would have been a nice big chunk play too, by the way, to Richard James. I'm assuming that's on Myrick. I could be wrong. It could be a hot guy. I don't know. Sack. Another stunt. This one's tough. I think Bredesen's setting for Armstrong 92. They've got him lined up as a 5, 6 as a 7 technique. So he's got to get out there and set to him. So Bredesen IDs it and tries to get over. At this point, Feliciano has been driven back by 98. So in an ideal world, Feliciano stops this right here. And so when Bredesen is able to ID this, he's able to get over this. But once he's over here, this is kind of impossible for Bredesen to pick up this block. And Feliciano can't pop off of this. So ideally, Feliciano doesn't give up that ground. But with all the other offensive line issues, it's hard for me to be too mad at a guy for sustaining a block and being driven back about 4 yards. But still, it can be, it's an avoidable sack. It's a very avoidable sack. And then this last one we'll go through, and there's other ones, but this is the last one we'll go through. Feliciano gets beat. Just kind of mistimes that punch, which leaves him leaning. 96 is able to swipe those hands because it's not you can't have a violent punch when it's mistimed and you're leaning like that and too early. Mistimes those hand. So 96 times up is the swipe, that double hand swipe. Feliciano's feet aren't able to recover, and you force Jones out of the pocket. So, man, a lot of pressure this game. Again, the most pressure that Daniel Jones was facing his entire career, and a lot of it came from the right side, and some of it came from the center and the left guard. So, hopefully next week will be a little better on this. You get Andrew Thomas versus Quinn again. That's a fun matchup. So we'll see what happens. But appreciate you guys watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you on the next one. Let's go Big Blue.